And we were talking next week, spring football kicks off, and really looking forward to it. I know our crew is going to be out there. Stewie, Noah, and the crew will be out there and getting the footage that we can report and sending back images and the pictures that we can post. We learned our lesson.
Nothing until after practice.
That's right. We learned our lesson. But, one of the things that came up when talking about LSU and some of the things to watch out for, and it's obvious the defense. Shea had a great answer. If you go back and you missed the interview and, the last question on the way out was just some of the things and storylines that he's watching for spring. And, he really dove into the defense, whether it was the new coaches or, all the new faces or some of the guys that are returning, how Harold Perkins is going to work out, training him at linebacker, at middle linebacker, this spring. And all of that is obvious. And that's the answer, right? That's obviously where it goes. When you start to talk about some of these early enrollees, one position group that specifically I really am going to keep an eye on in this early enrollee class, that you had 13 guys enroll early for the spring session at LSU. That's a big number. Considering, I know that this is kind of the popular thing to do in recruiting now and has become that over the last, 5 to 7 years. There's been a real big push of getting on campus early.
I honestly, I think that's the best play for especially for a football prospect, like just to get acclimated to the speed.
Let me give you the greatest example that you can is Will Campbell and Emory Jones.
Yeah,
both of those guys, when they came to LSU and camped, looked as if they were going to be first-year starters. When LSU looked at them, they said, hey, this does not exist, but they have an opportunity here, and here's two guys that are both mentally and physically ready to play next season. And if you remember, Emory Jones didn't crack the starting lineup until the fourth game of the year.
Was it Mississippi State?
Mississippi State, he came in as a reserve, and the next week he started him.
Yeah.
The only difference between Campbell and Jones is that Campbell came to school 3 months earlier. And he went through spring practice. And I'm not saying that if Campbell doesn't do that he's not a starter. But I would have believed that Emory Jones going into the season would have been a game one, play one, day one starter. And when you talk to Brad Davis and Brian Kelly about that, it was just, he was. But it didn't see enough to put him out there just yet. 3 weeks of practice against against number one defense, against big-time players. You earn enough trust, you put him out there. So, to the point, and just making the point, it's huge to enroll early. It gives you a big springboard, gives you a head start, gives you an opportunity to play early if you're a guy that can truly test and play early. And I think that there is a position group where there's a group of players that are going to have the chance to play early, and the majority of them are on campus now. And I'm talking about linebacker. And I think Tylen Singleton, Devon Keys, and Kalaj Cobbins, who are all on campus, have a great head start on guys like Xavier Atkins, who's going to be here in the fall. Xavier Atkins can play. He can play at a high level. He could potentially play early on. These guys are going to have a little bit of a built-in advantage over him in competition just because they know the lingo, they know the facility, they know the expectations, they know what it's like to be a D1 college football player. Hell, they know where the quad is. They know where they know how to walk around campus. They know how to get to their class. Just the little things that it takes the adjusting to get, adjusted to something new. But at the end of it, all these cats can play. Like this linebacking class, I think out of the class of 2024 is really the group that, the offensive line is awesome. They're adding just, the rich get richer. A room of high-end talent just, backs up a dump truck and drops off more high-end talent for the offensive line. So to, get out and see Cryer and Ethan Callaway is going to be in. He's in the class early. Kyrie Lee is in there. Joseph Cryer is in that class. Cohen Eccles, who they flipped from Texas A&M, is in that class. Can't wait to see all of them. But when you talk about the linebacking class, Singleton, Keys, and Cobbins, who are on campus right now, and out of the three of them, the one I can't wait to see in person is Tylen Singleton.
I was about to say, I'd probably say Tylen Singleton might have the highest upside out of
all
of the linebackers that you signed. He has the highest upside.
I think when it's all said and done, this class, Tylen Singleton might be a top 3 player.
Yeah.
Like when you kind of take their body of work 3 years from now, look back on it, Singleton might be one of the ones that you're like, man,
damn,
cat's a first-round pick.
Right.
And look, he may not surprise you if he starts making plays because he's coming in here with some accolades now. He's one of the nation's top linebackers, and he's from the powerhouse of Manny, over the last couple of years. He's a 4-year starter up there. Led him to state titles in 20 and 22. They finished runner-up in 21. 4-star player, number 5 overall player in Louisiana. Was the MVP of the 2020 state championship game as a sophomore.
And he can do it all.
He can do it all, man. He can run. He can cover. He's big. He's physical. He's a guy that I think, when you talk about the open spots that LSU has on defense, and they got a lot of them. I think there's a lot of spots that are open for competition. Outside of Perkins and
Greg
Penn.
See, that's the only reason I'd say like the linebacker position, like they'll get their working spots just because like Greg Penn's a stalwart. Like you gotta start Greg Penn. He's not. I don't think Greg Penn comes off the field this season. Greg Penn. Then you have a depth piece in Whit Weeks. Whit Weeks is. We saw it last year when he didn't play. It was worse than when he did play. So. Whit Weeks is another piece where it's like, all right, where do we put him? Because now you want to put Harold Perkins on the inside, so that takes Whit Weeks off the field. So it's like, I think it'll take time for them to get on the field, but when they do, it'll wow a lot of people.
And I think Singleton's the one that has the chance to kind of be the wild card, that you can maybe use him in a Harold Perkins freshman type of role.
Right.
Where you're like, hey, look, man, you're going to be elite at a lot of things before you leave here. But right now, you just need to master this.
We want you to spy the quarterback today.
That's it. Cover a tight end.
Yeah.
Run with somebody. Come on, blitz. Whatever it is. This cat he looks different, right? He's one of those guys where you turn on the film and he jumps off. Like on a field that includes, who's our boy that went to USC? Tackett Curtis. And Tackett's one of those guys that, he's playing for personal fouls. He's playing for flags.
Yeah.
He's going for the Sports Center top 10 every play. And still you're like, who's 2? He's the pro. And Tylen Singleton, to me, is the guy of early enrollees. Man, you're talking about, listen to this early enrollee class. First off, you got your quarterback on campus in the class, and Colin Hurley, which that is enormous. You talk about a head start for a position that could use every single hour to benefit them as possible. To get on campus for 3 months and go through spring where you got no anticipation, no expectation to play at all. Just sit there and be a sponge. And a lot like they did with Ricky Collins last year. They gave Rick a ton of camp reps. I'd expect the same here for Colin Hurley coming back and getting a chance to go through spring. So Colin Hurley's in. He's already on campus. The offensive linemen include Ethan Callaway, the big offensive tackle out of North Carolina, and the guys we mentioned. Kyrie Lee, who's the top offensive lineman in Louisiana, Cohen Eccles, who they stole and flipped from A&M late in the process, and Joseph Cryer, who they flipped from Ole Miss late in the process as well. Defensive linemen Gabriel Relaford and Ahmad Bro are both in Baton Rouge on campus. We mentioned the linebackers Tylen Singleton, Devon Keys, and Kalaj Cobbins are all on campus as well. Cornerback P.J. Woodland is another name that always people are talking about after the first couple of weeks of having these guys down here. Woodland is a guy who was the, like Stewie said, I mean, if you're the 7A player of the year in Mississippi, you're a dog. You're a big-time player. I mean, for as fierce and as competitive as Louisiana high school football is and how it is throughout the South, Mississippi's they got big-time players, especially playing at the highest level. And for you to be the 7A player of the year, Woodland comes in here with a lot of expectations. And the two safeties that they sign are both big-time, and they're both on campus. Deshaun McBride and Joel Rogers are both in Baton Rouge. So the class of 2024, to have 13 guys, including Shone Washington, the junior college defensive tackle that they signed in this class as well, is on campus. So, I mean, to have these guys here already is such a tremendous head start to the year and to the installation, new coaches. I mean, you talk about Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, having a chance to work with these guys early on. What a huge advantage. And then, for that offensive line group who's coming in here, I mean, you get a chance to watch Emory Jones and Will Campbell and those guys go through a spring. I mean,
LSU's the only school with 2 offensive linemen in the Pro Football Focus top offensive tackles.
I mean,
Emory Jones is 9, Will Campbell's number 1.
They potentially both could be top 10 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both that good.
And I think Braden Fisk impressed in we talk about Brian Thomas impressing in the combine setting, Will Campbell and Emory Jones are good. Emory Jones is going to impress people.
Oh my God.
He's a freak athlete.
Oh my God.
For an offensive lineman.
I mean, the basketball film on him alone.
Right. They're going to play that at the combine probably.
I mean, yeah, if you're a scout, if you're a GM, you know about that basketball film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they're gonna put that on the notes. Played high school basketball
or click this link.
High school basketball standout.
Watch this. I mean, even the open field tackle on special teams is freshman year.
Yeah.
I mean, that is when you hear football people talk about that play.
It's
even the people that are wowed by it just by what you're watching, even the internal people are like, that play is
special,
just different. It's just way, way different than anything that you come to expect. And I don't know if Jones will play tackle at the next level.
Yeah, I don't think he will. But I don't know. It's tough to say because he has not played any interior offensive lineman at LSU besides maybe a couple games.
Yeah.
So it's it's just strange for people to think that he will play interior just because he's gonna play right tackle for the 3rd year in a row at LSU next
year.
Dominant. Him and Will Campbell, he's you don't even worry about it. You just trot out there and all right, we got Will and
no stress.
Right, we got Will and Emory on the edges.
To be able to check those guys off is just,
I mean,
golly, from a coaching standpoint, the peace of mind that gives you, knowing that everywhere you go, you've got 2 tackles that everybody in the NFL wants early, is just got to be very reassuring. Just very we're good there, fellas. Especially if you're Nussmeier.
I mean, Nuss he should be the most comfortable.
Oh my gosh. Or Joe Sloan. Or Cortez, the new play callers.
Right, we could call whatever we want.
You can call just about anything you want, fellas. I mean, he's going to be protected back there. So great stuff.
Will Campbell projected to go 3 overall?
Hell
next
yeah,
year.
he is. I mean,
Top 2 picks is Shador and Travis Hunter. Or the other 2.
Wow.
And then Harold Perkins is projected 5.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Damn. That's awesome.
Yeah, next year's class is going to be very interesting. Just because, like, you got Shador, you got Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter. I'm interested to see where Travis Hunter projects
Me
at
too.
the next level. Like, does he play?
I would think DB.
He is a DB, but, I mean, you could almost just, like do the Dion thing. Like, throw him out there and throw a fade one
Yeah,
time.
you know,
Put him
I
at
wouldn't
punt
be mad
returner.
at it.
Right.
You know, I mean, but I think his like position, he'd get paid as a DB.
Yeah, for sure. But
You know, when it comes to contract time,
I want to be a DB.
yeah, you want to be a DB.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, receivers about to
Unless you create your own, unless you're a Taysom Hill.
That's
I mean, there's no comp for Taysom Hill.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he could create his own market. Like, he could have a Patrick Mahomes type deal as a DB and a receiver, just because I offer you defensive back play, I offer you receiver play, and I also do return games. So it's like, you got to pay me for all of these skills, just like the real world.
Right.